Hey guys, welcome back to Weekenders on the Water. Today we're here in the garage, and today we're going to be replacing the starter motor on this 2013 Yamaha SX190. So stick around, check it out, hit that subscribe button, and let's go! Alright guys, so this is my 2013 Yamaha SX190. We just got back from Bimini. We took this boat, as well as these two Seadoo Jetskis, over to Bimini. We had a ton of fun, so if you want to go back and check out those videos, check them out. But we did have some problems with the boat. One of the issues that we had was that the exhaust fell off halfway across the ocean. That was scary. Managed to get that fixed, but then towards the end of the trip, the starter on this boat started acting up, having some problems. Eventually we got back and we did the old hit it with a hammer trick, and that seemed to kind of kick it in gear, but that also means that the starter it's shot. So it's time to replace it. So we're gonna try to get this starter out of here, see if we can get it rebuilt and get it reinstalled. All right, so here's the engine of the SX190. The starter actually lives underneath of the exhaust manifold here. So I was looking at it, seeing if there's any way to get to it without taking that off. I don't think that there is. Unfortunately, whenever you remove the exhaust manifold, there's a gasket here on the side. The gasket's $37, so that needs to be replaced. Anytime you take a gasket off, you gotta replace it with a brand new one. You know, $37 is one thing. I hate waiting for shipping, so that's gonna take a while. So I'm gonna try to remove as few gaskets as possible. There's also another gasket here if you were to remove that. But you can see my zip ties back there. That's from where the water box fell off halfway across the Atlantic Ocean, and that was our fix. So I gotta replace that anyways. I'm gonna take all the zip ties off. I'm gonna replace that clamp with a better one. I'm gonna double clamp everything over there. So because of that, I'm gonna see if I can remove the clamp and everything there from the water box, and then see if I can just rotate the exhaust manifold off and only have to replace this one gasket over here. So these are 12mm bolts. When we get back to installing them, we'll talk about torque pattern and torque specs. Got that all in my book over here. We'll go ahead and get started with, I'm going to remove clamps from back there off of the water box. Alright, now that we got that loosened up, we're going to go ahead and take the exhaust manifold off. Alright, so we got all the bolts out here. Got them set to the side. There are small ones. There's a couple larger ones too. Keep that in mind, there's 3 long ones that go here, here, and here. But I also found that there's one more bolt holding this whole thing on, and it's back here underneath these wires. It's a 9/16. So that's what I'm working on getting off now. Okay, now finally with all those bolts out of the way, I should just be able to rotate this here out of place. So you can see it's popped off of the engine. So let's see if we can rotate it. Maybe even just take it completely off. Now there's that gasket. So that's what we'll have to be replacing. So there's the exhaust manifold gasket, so that's what we'll have to replace. Alright, so I managed to get the exhaust manifold pushed off to the side, scraped my oil filter there a little bit, but not a big deal, that's replaceable anyways. But there we can finally see starter motors right here. To give you a better idea of what we're looking at, here's the diagram. So basically there's a small nut on top that holds, I think that's the negative, no, it's the positive terminal up here on the top. The negative terminal is held on at the bottom nut, and then there's another one here. So we gotta undo, take that off. Oh, and one thing, obvious, it should be obvious at this point, but if you're messing around with the electricity on your boat, of course you want to shut the battery off. So that was already done before we took the exhaust manifold off, but figured I'd say it. But yeah, we're going to take the little nut off here, and then we'll take these other ones off and see if we can get those wires out, take these out, and see if it just pulls out. That's the plan anyways. Alright, so the little nut that holds on the power, the positive on the top is coming off. It's a 10mm nut. Had to use a wrench. A socket wouldn't fit on there. Make sure you don't drop that. So there's that. I think it's got a washer on there too. Yeah, there's the washer. Okay. And we can take the power cable off. Alright, let's get to those bottom two. Alright, bottom nut off that holds the negative terminal on there. It's got a washer built in. So now just one more 12mm to go. Alright. So now that I got those two bolts off the back here, it should just pull straight out. So I'd give it kind of a bit of a wiggle. And there it goes, it's loose. It's gonna figure out how to work its way out of there. I'm trying not to take this bottom hose off. I don't know if that's a cooling hose or if that's an oil hose. I mean, if it's cooling, it's just water. But if it's an oil hose, I don't want to get get oil all over the dang place, and then have to worry about changing the oil either. So let's see if I can get it out of there without taking that hose off. Obviously, if you did take that hose off, it'd be a lot easier. What makes you think maybe it's oil is because it kind of goes into the same housing here that the oil filter does, possibly. I don't know. You got it loose at least. Just need to figure out how to work it out of there. All right, well there it is. I managed to get it out without taking that hose off. It's rusty. I don't know, guys. I was hoping to get this thing rebuilt, but then how rusty that thing is, I may have to just bite the bullet and buy a brand new one. These things are like 500 bucks. So that shipping, taxes, that extra gasket is gonna be like a $600 fix. So they weren't joking when they said bust out another 1,000. The boats just keep taking. I say keep giving pain, keep taking money. We got it out though. All right, let me figure out what I'm gonna do with this. We'll come back once I got either a new one or a rebuilt one. All right, guys, so it has been over a week, probably closer to 2 weeks, maybe longer. I don't know. It's been a while, and everything's basically like I left it. So I got the starter in. I just haven't had the time yet, so that's what we're gonna do today. But looking at this, you can see, well, I'd like to start off saying I thought this engine was really well kept. Everything that you can see looks like it's in good shape, not really any rust. But everything that was underneath this manifold here, obviously this is a spot here that hasn't been receiving as much love and attention. All these little bolts are really super rusty. Little clamps and stuff under there are rusty as well. I kind of talked about that before. And I did some research, and as far as I can tell, I think these are all just water line cooling clamps. So it shouldn't be any problem with taking those off and replacing them. If anything, just some water is going to come out. So I'm going to go ahead and do that before I put the exhaust manifold back on, because I'll probably not have access to these ever again. At least not as easy. So bought myself some clamps here. Got these off of Amazon. I'll put a link in the description down below where you can pick up similar. There's a bunch of different sizes. I don't really know exactly what size I'm gonna need. I'm gonna do my best to try to line them up. Nice thing about Amazon is that little box also came with the proper tools. So I got these little hose clamp pliers. It should make the job pretty easy. So I reach down there and just take off some of these. Like there's one right there. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna start with this one here on the end because it's probably the easiest to get to. But yeah, go ahead and there we go. That was easy. we should be able to pick that off of there. Alright, so I got that one off. Let's see if we can get a little light here. Alright, so I got that one off. See, that one, the old one is definitely a bit rusty. Probably not going to give out just yet, but might as well go ahead and replace it while I'm in here. There's the new one. Quick note about these clamps. I was initially just going to put some worm screw clamps on there and call it a day, but I've done a little bit more research trying to figure out, well, just trying to educate myself better. And I found out that these clamps actually have a specific purpose. They are spring clamps for a reason. Basically, when they heat up, they allow it to expand, which, as you can see, the nipple that this thing is on is plastic. If you have a worm screw clamp or something really rigid on there, when that plastic expands, it can actually crack. So that is why they have these spring clamps that expand with the heat and also won't leak, but won't crack the nipples. So you want to make sure whatever kind you take off is the same kind you put back on. Oh my goodness, look at that one. That one there, that's in a rough shape too. So I got my work cut out for me. I'm going to replace basically all the clamps that I can find over here. Alright, so now we got brand new hose clamps all down on everything in there. So that took a while, mostly getting the old ones off because they were so corroded. Some of them like weren't even clamps anymore. Getting the new ones on was pretty easy, but getting the old ones off was a pain. But as you can still see, there's still quite a bit of corrosion and rust and just gunk and everything in there. So I'm going to hit that with a wire brush, try to clean some of that off, as much of the corrosion, you know, see if we can flake it off, vacuum it up, and then spray the whole thing down with some fresh Yamaha lube. I gotta be special careful not to get any inside the exhaust ports there or down into the manifold either. So that's the plan. Alright, so next up is the starter motor. The service manual does say to put some marine grade grease on the gear here and the O-ring, so we got that all lubed up. We're going to go ahead and slide it in. Alright, it's in there. Alright, put some dielectric grease on the connection ones. Grab that wire. That's the positive, the negative is somewhere down there. There's the negative. Doesn't say what the torque spec on this is, so I'm just gonna tighten it down. So much easier. Same thing here on the top post. A little bit of dielectric grease. You can't really see it, but it's under there. Hook up the positive cable. Oddly enough, it does say that this one has a torque spec of 7 Newton meters, I believe it is. But again, that's just so small. Reinstall the hose. Next up, I'm going to take just a sponge here, You just kind of go over all these mating surfaces on the exhaust. Try to get that cleared up, get any gunk and grit off of there. And we'll hit it with the vacuum one more time. You don't want to use anything too abrasive here because you could cut grooves into it and then that'll give you a leak. So here's the gasket. We're going to go ahead and get this installed. So the center, the hole goes on the bottom. There's like an empty unsupported bit that goes on the top. And it should line up with, you have a pin over there, and I think there's one, yeah, on the manifold as well. So we'll go ahead and put it in place for now while we lift up the manifold and slide it back up into place. Alright, so we got it close. I took the gasket out while it was close, but one thing I need to still do is get all the way down here. Let's install this bolt here. Again, I did not see a torque spec on this one, so we're just gonna install it and tighten it down. Oh, I'm gonna put some blue Loctite on it first, but then we'll put it on. Can you even see that in the camera? Right there. That one. Alright, so I think the key with the one on the back there is leave it a little loose, that way you get room to jiggle this. But now we'll go ahead and install our gasket. A couple bolts here just to try to help hold it in place. Even this one's not the right size, but it'll help kind of guide everything in. Again, just helping to get it lined up. Get a couple of these longer ones in there for now. Alright, now I've got it just lined up. So we're going to put blue Loctite on all these. And then just get them tightened up. So now we got everything Loctite on there and just kind of loosely fitted. We'll refer back now to the owner's manual. So refer back now to the owner's manual. You can see there's your torque settings. So we're going to do 20 Newton meters starting from the inside, like up and down zigzag on the way, work our way out, star pattern. Come back, do another 20 Newton meters again, then come back and finally finish off with 35 Newton meters. And the camera's about to die. Because the camera's about to die, you guys know how to do this. You get it from the instructions there. Probably be the end of the video. It's late now, so I won't be able to start it up tonight anyways. We'll get a new battery and we'll test out the starter in the morning. Alright guys, so it is another day. It's daytime. So we're gonna go ahead and see if we can fire this thing up for the first time. We got the key in, the battery's on. Safety switch, neutral. Feels like that's neutral. I think. Alright, let's see if she turns over. Nice. Start it right up. Try it one more time. Alright, she's running. That's it. Mission accomplished. Still got some more clamps I think I want to switch out. I haven't finished the one in the back yet. The one on the exhaust yet that left us stranded in Bimini. If you haven't watched that content, go back and watch it, because we took this boat, our two jet skis, from Miami to the Bahamas. It was a ton of fun. This boat broke down halfway. It's a good video. Go back and check it out. So I'm gonna get that clamp fixed off camera. Got some other ones in the far back that I'm gonna inspect and probably change out as well. But that's basically it. So that's gonna do it for today. Remember, hit that subscribe button. Really appreciate it. Really help us out. With that being said, we're out of here, and we'll see you next weekend. I'm hot and sweating. I don't know if I push start. Nice thing about Amazon is that little clamp, we had that gasket's $37. Oh.